What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the frickin' sports podcast. I'm your host, Cody, and today we're previewing or ranking the Big 12. Now, during the Big 12 Media Days, which happened about a month ago, they wanted all the media members to rank the Big 12 teams. They refused to do so. Because this conference is so crazy now that Texas and Oklahoma aren't there. You don't really know who it is to pick. And like last year, Arizona State had the least favorite odds to win the whole thing, and they won. So it's a lot of parity in this conference, and so we'll just get into it. Starting off at number 16, you got the UCF Knights. Listen, those folks down there in Orlando, obviously they're not considered the top 3 schools of even their state, because there's Florida, Miami, and Florida State. But also, they just got picked on. Like, Florida State took Gus Malzahn, their head coach, and he's joining Florida State as their offensive coordinator this year. Which I thought Gus Malzahn was doing pretty good. They did get back their national championship head coach in Scott Frost that took them on that undefeated run in 2017. While it brings optimism, expecting a dramatic turnaround in year 1 is optimistic. For non-conference games, UCF hosts Jacksonville State, North Carolina A&T, and North Carolina Chapel Hill. UNC, Bill Belichick at home. And they will also play at home for conference games, Kansas, West Virginia, Houston, and Oklahoma State, and go on the road to face Kansas State, Cincinnati, Baylor, and Texas Tech, and BYU. It's not an overwhelming home schedule. That I think is manageable. Some of their their really tough games are on the road, in Kansas State, Baylor, and Texas Tech. So I don't know. The odds to win the conference are at plus 6,500. 6,500 and their over-under win total is 5.5. I think the goal for this year for UCF would be to contend for a bowl game. Let's just see if Charjon is heard in Orlando in the 2025 season. Number 15, Arizona. After Jed Fish left for the Huskies, after Kalen DeBoer left the Huskies, the Wildcats didn't look so hot last year. So is year 2 under Brett Brennan and quarterback Noah Fafita, but they lost their start receiver to the NFL draft. So even though progress isn't linear, I don't know if they probably win as many games as they did last year, and they didn't win that many. In non-conference play, they will play Hawaii and Weber State in Tucson. And then in conference play, they will host Kansas State, Oklahoma State, BYU, Kansas, and Baylor. Go on the road against Iowa State, Houston, Colorado, Cincinnati, and Arizona State. I do not know why they have 10 non-con games, or conference games. That's a little weird because only other one team does, but I don't know. I don't think they're gonna find quick answers. And FanDuel would agree with plus 4,000 or 4,100 odds to win the conference and same win total as UCF. All the win totals are about the same. I think a bowl game is likely, and I don't think Bear Down is going to hurt in Zona Zoo this 2025 season. So, moving on to Houston. Year one under Willie Fritz left much to be desired. However, they get quarterback Connor Wegman from Texas A&M, who transferred there, and if he plays like he is supposed to, as he's a highly starred recruit, maybe this program gains some momentum. They play Stephen F. Austin in non-conference games at home and go to Rice and Oregon State and then hosting Colorado, Texas Tech, Arizona, West Virginia, and TCU. And visiting Oklahoma State, Arizona State, UCF, and Baylor on the road. It's a coin flip schedule, but there's tough ones on both sides. But I don't know. I don't see anything from Houston this year, and their odds to win the conference are at plus 3,200. Again, same win total. So, a bowl game would mark progress, and I think that's really what they're eager for, and eager for the basketball season to come around. Number 13, we got West Virginia Mountaineers. Richard Rodriguez has returned to Morgantown, bringing some nostalgia and optimism back to the program. After flashes of momentum in 2024, they managed to reach a bowl game. So now, I don't know how to pronounce their starting quarterback's name. Whoever their quarterback is. Stepping into the starting quarterback role, and Rodriguez at the helm, they can build for something real this time around. And non-conference play, they play Robert Morris and Pitt at home and Ohio on the road. And at home in conference games in Morgantown, they will face Utah, TCU, Colorado, and Texas Tech, and go on the road to play Kansas, BYU, UCF, Houston, and Arizona State, which is a road-heavy and tricky stretch with, I don't know. Odds to win the conference, 3,900. Same win total. I don't think Take Me Home Country Roads will be sounding like a victory anthem in Morgantown this year, but number 12, we got the Oklahoma State Cowboys. So, if we were to talk about disasters, like in a historic sense, and you looked in the encyclopedia, you find the 2024 Cowboys in there. That was a disaster. And Mike Gundy finds himself in a little bit of trouble. Now, typically, when he does get in trouble and he's on the ropes, he has a bounce-back season. But does he have that double magic in him again? I highly doubt it. He's kind of getting up there in age. And he really tapped into the portal this time around, and we have seen how that has gone. So I don't really, I don't, I just don't really see how that's going to do some good. But in some way, shape, or form, if this team is good or not, Gundy does provide entertainment. Um, Non-conference games, Oklahoma State faces the University of Tennessee Martin and Tulsa at home while playing Oregon and Eugene. Uh, they're going to get boat race. In conference play, the Pokes play Baylor, Houston, Cincinnati, Kansas State, and Iowa State in Stillwater, and play Arizona, Texas Tech, Kansas, and UCF. So they have a workable schedule, but if Gundy wants to keep his job, they gotta make it a little more than workable. Their odds to win the conference are at plus 5,500, and their over/under win total is 5.5. I think an 8-win season is the must for Gundy to keep his job. I think anything less is kind of a collapse, and yeah, especially with all the transfers, I don't think it's going to be an experiment that they want to do again. But yeah. Number 11, I got the BYU Cougars. I did not know what to do with this team. I really didn't. After the whole thing with Jake Retzloff in BYU, which was he was, said to have had sexually assaulted a woman, and then she was like, that's false, but it was a sexual encounter, which is against BYU's whole ethics. So he had to leave no matter what. Even though the charges were dropped against him, he still had to leave. So I don't know what's going to happen with this team this year. I don't expect much, but I kind of put them here because I like the coach enough that I give him some respect. Yeah, Brigham Young plays Portland State and Stanford at home and on the road against East Carolina. And their conference slate is West Virginia, Utah, TCU, and UCF at home. And they go on the road against Colorado, Arizona State, Iowa State, Texas Tech, and Cincinnati. That's some manageable games. I don't know. 8 wins, I think would be good for BYU. Cause I don't know what to do with them this year. FanDuel has them at plus 2,700 odds to win the conference, and over/under win total at 6.5 wins. Despite the off-field turmoil, I say 7 wins is a good season for them. And Coach, what's his name? Coach Sataki would, I think this is the kind of scratch-off ticket year for him. If things go poorly in up there in Provo. Number 10, I got Cincinnati. Things haven't looked great for the Bearcats since joining the Big 12. And Coach Satterfield has yet to find his footing. But it makes 2025 feel like a make-or-break year for him. They gotta build some momentum. So it looks bleak. But, they winning 7-8 games probably puts them in a, getting up. Progress is linear. Like I said, not linear. Bearcats open with a neutral site game against Nebraska at Arrowhead. And they also face Bowling Green and Northwestern State at home. And then in Big 12 action, Cincinnati will host Iowa State, UCF, Baylor, Arizona, and BYU, while hitting the road to face Kansas, Oklahoma State, Utah, and TCU. It's a mixed bag of a schedule. It's not overly brutal, but it's not a cakewalk either. And FanDuel has the Bearcats at plus 3,300 to win the Big 12, and over-under win total at 6.5 wins. So if this doesn't go great in Cincinnati, those fans might just have to drown their sorrows in some Skyline chili. Number 9, we got the Colorado Buffs. So the spotlight on Dion is now brighter. Now, why would that be? Because we saw how he built the program when he had Shedeur and Travis. It's very portal heavy. Now, that is good for temporarily, and it helped build a little bit of momentum with the program. But so now we're going to see how well he actually recruited. And the fruits of that labor. So Coach Prime, if he really truly built this program to succeed, that's how it would probably go. Quarterback battle between Caden Salter and freshman phenom Julian Lewis hasn't produced a clear starter yet, but both have talents. But uncertainty of the position could complicate the season, and that makes me unaware of how to actually rank this team. In non-conference play, they play Georgia Tech, Delaware, and Wyoming, and all at home, and they play Brigham Young, Iowa State, Arizona, and Arizona State at home in Boulder, and on the road they play Houston, TCU, Utah, West Virginia, and Kansas State. Some sneaky matchups on both slates of their conference matchups on the road and at home. Their odds to win the conference are at plus 3,200, and 5.5 wins. They're over on their win total. So is this portal heavy roster building sustainable or not? This is really where we will see it. And is he actually starting to use recruiting? We shall see. Number 8, I got Kansas. So after an exciting 2023 season, I was like, Kansas is getting some momentum and looking like they're gonna try and get rid of that basketball school talk. Because this has been a joke of a football program for a long time, and so disappointing 5-7 season last year, and you're like, well, is this actually really them building on success? But they have those same returning quarterback in Jalen Daniels, but they brought in new offensive coordinator work, so we don't know how that'll go, and that's a fork in the road. Either they will continue to build a respectable football program, or collapse and revert back to being the punchline in the Big 12. It's a coin flip. I'm leaning more towards collapsing. In non-conference play, Kansas hosts Fresno State and Wagner and Lawrence, and then heads to Columbia for a new border rivalry against Mizzou. And then in conference play, they welcome West Virginia, Cincinnati, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, and Utah, and traveling to UCF, Texas Tech, Arizona State, and Iowa State. I will say, they have a favorable schedule. They have 2 tough games at home in Kansas State and Utah, and Tech and Iowa State are their other tough games on the road. If they go 2-2 in that, they're looking pretty good. And so their odds to win the conference are at plus 1,400, and their over-under win total is 6.5. Who knows? I think if Daniel stays healthy, he looks like he did in 2023. Rock Chalk would echo and Lawrence, Kansas once again. For part about their basketball. No. Their football, not their basketball. And it would be a surprise to people, because when have we actually seen a good Kansas football program? I don't think I ever have. So that's what I'm saying, it would be a surprise. Number 7, we got the Texas Christian University Horned Frogs. The magic of that 2022 season where they get absolutely stomped in the Nationals championship against Georgia is starting to fade. But Coach Sonny Dykes seems to have the Frogs back on the right path. Quarterback Josh Hoover, who had some really weird rumors about him on the internet, but that's why you don't pay attention to the internet about your starting quarterback. As an Oklahoma fan, I know that one too well. His second year in the system, they hope to build for a stable offense, and if he takes another step forward, they could be your all contender, because he looked good last year. And had good stats. The Frogs will travel to Chapel Hill to play North Carolina and host Albion Christian and SMU. And then in conference play, they get Colorado, Baylor, Iowa State, and Cincinnati and Fort Worth. And hit the road against Arizona State, Kansas State, West Virginia, and BYU in Houston. It is a tough schedule, but probably honestly one of the toughest in the Big 12, but I think they can manage. Their odds to win the conference are at plus 800, and their over-under win total is at 6.5. So we'll see. Maybe they'll make some noise and play some spoiler against some teams here in 2025. And number 6, we got the Iowa State Cyclones. Coach Matt Campbell has the team flying under the radar in 2024, seeking their way into the Big 12 title game. Now, in 25, people actually expect them to do something. And quarterback Rocco Becht bringing his experience and leadership to the table. The thing about the Big 12, and I've said a lot of returning starters, that is one of the things. They have a bunch of returning starter quarterbacks. I don't know why I just mentioned it now in this point in the video when I'm already 10 deep into this preview. But that is one of the things that you see differently than all the other conferences. Where was I? So if he's under center and having a solid foundation with leadership and experience, and both sides of the ball do really good, Iowa State can take the next step and contend for the Big 12 or win it. And non-conference play, they host South Dakota and their bitter rival Iowa in the annual Cy Hawk game, and travel to face Arkansas State. And then they also kick off week 0 with a bang as Farmageddon against Kansas State in Ireland, Dublin, Ireland. Who knew? And then they will host Arizona, BYU, Arizona State, and Kansas, and go on the road against Cincinnati, Colorado, TCU, and Oklahoma State. Their odds to win the conference are at plus 1,300, and their over/under win total is at 7.5. I think they could honestly make the Big 12 title game. I wouldn't put it past them, so yeah. Number 5, I got the Utah Utes. After an injury play, like this was not a Kyle Whittingham season at all in 2024. You wouldn't typically see this, but you know they're gonna try and bring back that physical and consistent brand of football that Kyle Whittingham is known for out there in Salt Lake City, and reestablish themselves as Big 12 contenders. And I believe he can do this. In non-conference games, the Utes face UCLA, which a few years ago would have been a conference game, and Wyoming on the road, and Cal Poly in Salt Lake City. They will get Texas Tech, Arizona State, Colorado, Cincinnati, and Kansas State at home, and play West Virginia, BYU, Baylor, and Kansas on the road. Honestly, they have probably one of the most favorable schedules that they could be in the Big 12 title game, because their really tough schedules are Tech and Arizona State and Baylor. They only have one tough road game, which is Baylor, and their other tough games are all at home. So I think that is phenomenal for them. And their odds to win the conference are at 550, and over/under win total is at 7.5. I told you they were all going to be repeats. I think their floor is a lot higher than everyone else's. Like, it would be 7 wins, because that is just the type of coach that Whittingham brings with his programs. Number 4, I got Baylor. This is my pick to win the Big 12 this year. I like, why wouldn't I put them at number 1 then? Because this is me trying to be unbiased, but this is my pick. David Aranda has this team headed in the right direction, with Sawyer Robinson returning as a starter quarterback again. Continuity keeps it good. Momentum's rolling forward. They host Auburn and Samford in non-conference play and travel to play SMU. And then they also host Arizona State, Kansas State, UCF, Utah, and Houston, and hit the road against Oklahoma State, TCU, Cincinnati, and Arizona. They drew probably the best schedule for them. If they have all their 3 toughest opponents all at home, that is great. And then they get Auburn and SMU, 2 other powerful conferences, as their non-conference games. This is great for them. And FanDuel lists their odds to win the conference at plus 650, and their over/under win total is at 7.5. Yeah, I think they could win the Big 12 and even make the college football playoffs. I would not be surprised, and we'd be hearing Sikkim down there in Waco, Texas. Number 3, I got Kansas State. This program has been the epitome of consistent the last few years. I don't know. I've never seen them really struggle, besides last year. So, but Avery Johnson coming back again as the starting quarterback, and Coach Chris Kleeman are looking to put it back on track. non-conference games, they have 10 conference games, but they host North Dakota and Army, and then their conference slate is, again, Farmageddon in Dublin, Ireland against Iowa State. In Manhattan, K-State will face UCF, TCU, Texas Tech, and Colorado, while traveling to play Arizona, Baylor, Kansas, Oklahoma State, and Utah. They have tough games on both sides, but I think it's manageable for them. They just gotta get it off kicking at the start at week 0. And their odds to win the conference are at plus 550, and their over and their win total is at 8.5. I see this team doing really good. I don't know if they'd make the Big 12 title. This is a really, really hard conference to predict. Number 2, I got Texas Tech Red Raiders. They made headlines this offseason with how much money they spent in the transfer portal, and I get it. With revenue sharing and maybe a cap coming through how much NIL money you can spend, you don't know how open this window is going to be, so to go all in, it was smart of them to do in the transfer portal and bring in a bunch of starting transfer pieces. Hold on one second. Nondescript water right there. And I think that was very smart of them to do. Coach Joey McGuire has the table loaded in Lubbock, and if the new pieces gel and this experiment goes right, it could be flying high. But it could also be a crash and burn, like Florida State. We've seen it happen both ways. I tend to think that this will go right for those folks out in Lubbock. They host Arkansas Pine Bluff, Kent State, and Oregon State in non-conference games, and they play Kansas, Oklahoma State, BYU, and UCF in Lubbock, and travel to Utah, Houston, Arizona State, Kansas State, and West Virginia. They have a brutal schedule to do this with, but they spent all that money, so winning this year would be impressive for Texas Tech, or they'll get clowned if they do horrible. Their odds to win the conference are at plus 600, and their their win total is 8.5. If this all-in experiment goes well, you'll hear Wreckham for sure in Lubbock all season long. Number 1, I gotta give it to the Arizona State Sun Devils. Now, did I say that Baylor was my pick to win the conference and go to the college football playoffs? I did, but I gotta give respect to the people who won it last year, and even if with Cam Scadaboo gone, who was a huge part about that, the start back, head coach Kenny Dillingham is a great head coach, and quarterback Sam Levitt can continue to build this program's momentum. They host Northern Arizona and Texas State, and go to Starkville to face Mississippi State in non-conference play, and welcome TCU, Texas Tech, Houston, West Virginia, and Arizona, while hitting the road to face Baylor, Utah, Iowa State, and Colorado. It's a tough road for this team, and it presents the right challenges, but if they are the Big 12 champions again, this is what they need to maintain that ascent. And also why you're so high on this team is because they're returning 79% of last year's returning production. So that is a lot of continuity. They have a lot of experience, and so I could expect them to maintain their Big 12 crown and make a college football playoff appearance, even if they did not win the conference. I think this team is that good. So yeah, plus 550 to win the Big 12 and over under win total at 8.5. Yeah, those are my rankings of the Big 12. If you have any comments or suggestions about this list, make sure to comment down below. Like, subscribe, because it just helps me know that you like this content and to keep rolling it out. God bless, and have a great week.